Man, welcome to Too Much Information.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. Pleasure to have you. Happy for you to be here. Yeah, glad to kind of just hear your story. Glad to hear how you built the empire. And yeah, just to find out a bit more about you, like I said. So yeah, welcome to Too Much Information. So kind of family,
Yeah.
How was you raised? Was it kind of both parents, 1, 2, 3? Yeah, so maybe start there.
Right, okay, so my mum and dad were together for about a year before I was born.
Okay.
They got married, had me. My mum was very young, she was 18 when she had me.
Okay.
She already had my sister, who my dad sort of took over as the father figure.
Right.
Yeah, had me when she was 18, and then her and my dad split up when I was about 18 months old.
Okay.
I still don't know the true sort of, you know, who's telling the truth on which side.
Okay, so they both got different stories.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Well, one thing they've never really done is sort of badmouth the other one, but their chain of events are slightly different.
Right.
So, from what I can make out, my mum wasn't really in a good place, and my dad got full custody of me.
Okay.
So my dad had a good support network when my mum didn't, so probably played out back then a lot better for me to live with my dad. So I moved away with my dad. I was born in Watford, lived in Watford with my mum and dad, and then my dad moved away in with his mum and dad, which was my nan and granddad, obviously.
Right.
So stayed with them, and then we moved to Tring, which is like a country town in Hertfordshire. Saw my mum every other weekend, like I would do if it was the other way around. Yeah, so my dad worked a lot when I was a kid.
Okay.
So I didn't really see him too much during the week. Weekends I would see him, and then my nan sort of took over bringing me up. So although I lived with my dad, it was my nan that brought me up. So granddad died when I was about 5. So it was my nan and my dad. And my dad worked hard, played hard. So my dad worked hard, but he loves to drink. So he would go to work early, work all day, go to the pub, come back 11 o'clock at night, and then eat, sleep, repeat. Basically. And then I wouldn't see him until the weekend, really. So.
Okay. So what about your relationship with your mum at this time? What's that like?
So relationship with my mum is really good. We had a period when I was sort of getting to, I don't know, 15, 16, where if it was the other way around and it was my dad, you know, you go through the period of why this, why that, you know.
Right.
So I had those sort of conversations with my mum at that age. Didn't really understand why because I've got a lot of brothers and sisters from my mum's side. Okay. She then went on with my stepdad to have another 4 children. Right. So I've got 4 half brothers and sisters, younger, and 1 half sister who was older.
So when you went to live with your dad, your sister went with your mum, obviously.
Because obviously my dad wasn't her real dad. So she stayed with my mum. My mum got with my stepdad, who, you know, was a great guy. Got on really well with him, but only sort of spent time with him every other weekend.
Right.
So for me, it kind of felt like I had 3 different homes, because my dad obviously got married again and moved out, and I stayed with my nan. So it was quite. I didn't get on with my stepmom, so I saw my dad every now and then I stayed with my nan, and then I saw my mum every other weekend. So it kind of felt like I had 3 homes. I didn't really have my. Yeah,
it wasn't actually your home almost. It didn't feel like that.
Exactly that. Yeah. So growing up was always. I mean, I dealt with it. I had a good upbringing. I didn't have a bad upbringing. Yeah. I just didn't have a standard upbringing where you have your mum, your dad, your Christmases, your birthdays together. Like, so Christmas Day for me would be wake up in the morning, open my presents with my nan and my dad prior to him moving out with his new wife, and then my mum would come and pick me up at like lunchtime, and then I'd go over there and spend the rest of the day there, and then Boxing Day I would go somewhere else, and it kind of felt a bit disjointed, like you couldn't enjoy your family time, you know. So it always felt like you were visiting people rather than
I can imagine.
So that for me is probably like the only really bad thing, really. And like now that I've got kids myself, that's what I'm really focusing on, is trying to make their Christmases like special.
So was that something when you was young, you actually kind of, was that something that you thought about when you were young, or is that something that when you got older and you look back on it?
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
So when I was young, for me, I just sort of cracked on because
that's just what it was, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't know anything different. You
exactly
know, my mum and dad split up when I was 18 months. I didn't know any different. So living with my nan and my dad going to work and me seeing him at weekends. You know, I did see him in the week. It wasn't like I never saw him in the week, but it would just be if he was coming home to have some dinner and then go back out or something. You know, he wasn't very like a
hands-on kind of
figure.
Yeah. More providing, that was it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So his elder brother, my uncle, was more sort of like a father figure. He didn't have any kids.
Okay.
He's still about. We don't really speak at all anymore.
Okay.
It's families, you know.
Yeah.
But he's never had kids, so he was always around. And
so what sort of stuff was he doing with you? Like, was it more like
I don't know, he would like take you to the cinema, or you know, or if I was in with my nan and he came over to come and see us, like, you know, you would sort of like muck about like father and son sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, it was, we had a good relationship, me and him, growing up. But yeah, it was, I never really had like that solid father figure. But obviously Phil, that we work with, we've known each other since we were about 4 years old.
Oh wow.
So he lived, if my house was there, he lived like round the corner.
Okay.
And so his mum used to walk him to school when he was young, and I used to walk with them to school. Okay. And then we'd obviously go to school, and then everyone would come out and see their parents and stuff, and then me and Phil would both go over and see his mum, and then we'd walk back together and stuff. Okay. So when you reflect back on stuff like that at an older age, you kind of think, yeah, that's pretty bad. Like, I'm coming out and I'm like looking for somebody else's parent rather than my own. They're the sort of things that, you know, sort of bug me a little bit as a parent now. Yeah. Because like when my kids come out of school, if I'm not at work, I'd like to be there for them to come out and get excited about seeing you, you know. And you know, I didn't really have that growing up, so it's nice to.
Yeah, I hear that. I think it's weird though, because when you say, because that's why I asked that question about like, did you notice it at the time? Because I feel like for me, obviously I wasn't raised with my dad, but I never really noticed kind of not having a dad like that. Yeah. Well, I never had a dad at all, but I'm just saying, but not having a dad, was that, I didn't really notice. Now, was that because my mum filled in the gaps and it was just kind of like I didn't notice it? But once I saw other people's experience of fatherhood and that kind of thing, then I kind of was a bit, that's when maybe anger set in, and I was a bit more kind of like...
Yeah, a bit of resentment.
Resentment was definitely something that... So did you ever have that? Was that, cause you said, you kind of mentioned maybe you had a couple of frosty conversations with mum back in the day or whatever. But
I've had a couple of frosty conversations with my dad as well. The thing is with my dad is that he's so laid back, he's lying down, right? Okay. So, like, for instance, he said to me in the past, you know, I know I've not been a great dad, but I really want to be a good granddad, right, to my kids. And my wife, she hates that because she's like, well, you're still here, so you can still make an effort with your son. Yeah. You can be a better dad now and try and be a good granddad also, not just bypass being the dad and be a good granddad, you know?
That's interesting, because I think there's a lot of people that do think like that. Yeah. They think,
oh, well, I failed on that, so I'll try and do that.
Not thinking that, you know, obviously you might not need someone to bloody put TCP on your knee if you fall down or something, but there's a lot of other things. Yeah, there's a lot of other things that are involved in being a parent, even when they get older.
Conversations, advice, you know, support when you're hurt and stuff, you know, stuff like that. But when my kids grow up, I would like to be good mates with my kids. I would like them to look at me and think, do you know what? He's been there no matter what, and now I can be a good friend with my dad. Whereas me and my dad, I love him to bits, unconditionally, my dad, right? Has he let me down? Yeah, probably so. Has he been there for me? Probably not as much as he should have been. I know that if I rang up my dad any time of day, if he could, he would answer the phone and he would try and sort out my problem. But I haven't got that mate connection with my dad. You know, I speak to a lot of people and they're like, yeah, my dad's my best friend. You know, their dad's their best man sometimes at a wedding. And I kind of see things like that, and I don't feel jealousy, but I kind of feel a bit let down that I haven't experienced that, and that's what probably drives me to try and be that for my kids.
Where did you learn how to be that for your kids
On the job.
on the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what? Like Phil's family.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people aren't going to know who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
You do.
yeah.
So Phil's obviously my longest, my best friend. So Phil's family were kind of like a real good support network for me.
Mm-hmm.
And even to this day, like I know where they keep their key for the front door, and I could not see them for 2-3 years. I could easily just go get the key, go in.
Yeah.
How you doing, guys? You alright? Yeah. Do you want a cup of tea? Yeah, lovely. You know, that it's like they're my family. And seeing the relationship that he had with his dad from the outside, sort of made me think, oh, well, this is, you know, what family's like. You know, on the inside might have been a different story, but from the outside, that's what you.
But obviously, you're friends with him, so you're gonna have those kind of internal conversations, and you're gonna kind of get the inside check. And I feel like that's similarly, that's kind of what I feel I will kind of pull on is that kind of almost being allowed in to a family that's not necessarily yours. Yeah. And kind of just seeing those dynamics there. I think it's important. Yeah. And that's I think the blessing as well. Yeah. But I still do have that thing of just thinking, you know, am I gonna get it right? Do you know what I mean? Like you can do the obvious stuff, like I can change a nappy and I can wipe a snotty nose if you fall over, all of that stuff. But then when it comes to kind of like when they get a bit older and worrying about kind of, they come to you with actual problems. Yeah.
And you're expected to know the answer.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So like
and for me it's like I had nobody to tell me the answer to that. Yeah. So now I'm making up the answer based on what I've experienced. Right. But I guess. I mean, you get some people that have been let down by their parents, either or both. Yeah. And then use that as a catalyst to go, well, that's all I know, so that's all I can do. And for me, I feel that you can only use an excuse for so long because you're your own person and you've got eyes and ears, right? So unless you haven't got the full use of all of your senses, you can see how other people are doing things and you can see whether what you're experiencing is right or wrong. So if you've been let down by your mum or your dad, if your mum's left, if your dad's left, if you've never seen them, if you see them but they got families elsewhere and they're not bothered about you, you can see with your own eyes, even just by watching TV, how a typical family should be. 2.4 children, the mum, the dad, they go out to work, you go to school, you come back, you sit and have your dinner. You know, that's normal, right? But you can see that and you can see that was wrong. So to use that and go, well, I know that's right, but that's what I know, so that's how I'm going to be for my kids. Like people that have kids and then just go, I'm not bothered. Yeah, I really do try and think about why and how people can just kind of be that. And I try and analyse it and I try and think, is it that they don't see the benefit of it because they never had it? Yeah. Because I see the benefit of it. I see the benefit of it because I didn't have it. Yeah, and I know that because I would want that, that's what I would want for my kids. But, alright, so, go on. No, I was just going to say, everybody's different, you know. Yeah. So for me, I can see that I didn't get what I should have had. Yeah. And that's made me want to give that to my kids even more. Yeah. So for other people, you know, who might have had it worse, I can't say that you can't use that as an excuse not to. Yeah. But from what I've experienced, I just feel that sometimes you need to look outside the box and go, that wasn't right, so I'm going to do it. I suppose it kind of tells you the type of person you are if you go, that's what I've had, but I'm not doing that. I'm going to do something else. Facts. So I agree. Okay, so then what about school? What would you like at school? Class clown. Yeah? Yeah, very small, chubby as a kid. I suppose sometimes I feel a bit insecure, so I'd make jokes. That was like my defence mechanism. I'd make jokes. Yeah. If I made people laugh, it made me feel like I was popular, kind of thing. So that kind of stuck. I was always like the small one. So I didn't have, you know, a lot of people were athletic, a lot of people were good at sports, a lot of people were, you know, good looking, great with the girls. Yeah. You know, a lot of people were just popular by default. Yeah. And for me, I wasn't any of those things. I wasn't like, you know, good looking, big, athletic. I was like small, quite chubby. But I kind of had a lot of sarcasm on my side. I would always be the class clown. I'm getting laughs from everywhere. Yeah. Everyone would know me. I'd be quite popular because I was like, quite funny at school. I mean, my missus would argue that I've probably lost that humour now. I think I've probably,
You say you've improved it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, for me, school, I wasn't academically amazing. I didn't get straight A's, but I didn't do bad. I got average sort of GCSE results. But yeah, I mean, school for me, I enjoyed school. It was all right.
Was it something that was pushed in your house? Was it like, did you feel like it was expected of you
to do well
at school?
No. Do you know what? It really wasn't. My granddad, he wasn't with us after I was 5-6, so I didn't really have much of an influence from him as a guidance or anything.
Right.
My nan, she was a mother to 3 kids and surrogate mum to me really.
Yeah.
So she spent her whole life just looking after kids and working like women did, throughout the end of the war and stuff like that. Doing what she had to do.
Right.
And then my granddad sort of had a business and she helped out with that and brought up the kids. So my nan didn't academically. My nan, she was a dancer when she was younger. So she wasn't like, you must go to college, you must do this. Do that. She just said, try your hardest. That's all can be expected. My dad, for all he wasn't there that much for me, his work ethic was second to none. He would be the first one in the office, the last one leaving. He'd work weekends if there's weekend work. He'd do private. He's in the print. He does like graphic design and stuff, editing and stuff for magazines
and he's done that the whole time.
Yeah.
So he must have been one of the first people doing all that then, really.
Yeah. So he's done that his whole life. Yeah.
Wow.
Very good at what he does. He's done sort of editing in magazines and stuff. He lives in Spain now, so he's done lots of few magazines in Spain and that. He's very good, but like I say, very hard working. So that's probably the one good thing that's rubbed off on him to me. Is the hard work ethic. But no one really pushed it. My mum, she had my sister when she was 16. She had me when she was 18.
Right.
So she was never really, she had a bit of troubled upbringing. School was never really like, it was just try your hardest. If you don't do well, work hard.
Yeah.
If you do well, work harder. So it's
yeah. So when you was that age there, was there any kind of like what did you want to be?
So when I was younger and we did work experience, I suppose that was 14, I suppose, work experience. I wanted to be an estate agent. Okay. God knows why. I just thought it was a cool job.
Suit
in an office, in a suit, taking people around houses, driving a nice car. When it did a week's work experience there, just photocopying and stapling shit together, and it was like, this isn't the job for me. I went on one job, I think, in the whole week and measured up a flat that I didn't know whether it was going to get sold or not. It was,
once you're out of there, you don't even know what happens with it.
Admin boy's gone, crack on. But after that, I wanted to be, I didn't really know what I wanted. When I finished school, I went out to Spain for 6 months. So I got asked if I wanted, what I was doing, if I was going to college or whatever. We got a bit of family out in Spain, and they said, we're going to start up this renovation company, and we need a labourer. So if you fancy moving out to Spain, come and work, like just a labourer basically, just doing whatever. So I was like, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. I don't know whether I want to go to college or what. So I did that. That lasted 6 months, and I thought, I'm going to go home now. And moved up to Derbyshire, random. We got some family in Derbyshire as well, so my nan said she wanted a bit of a quieter life. I wanted to stay with my nan. So I said, right, okay, cool, let's move up there. I went to college up in Burton-on-Trent.
Okay.
Did sound engineering, because it sounded like a cool course.
Okay.
Teacher was never there, so we were only at college like 2 days a week, it was random. Teacher was never there. He would sign us all in, give us a task, bugger off. There was a pub outside the gates to the college, so we would literally, I was the only one with a driving licence, so I used to drive us all to college, and then we would go over to the pub, I'd have a pint, the other boys would get smashed, and then we'd go back, sign out, and then come home. So for me, college was a bit of a waste of time. Good experience, so you get to meet some people, but I come out of there and ended up working in a factory in Derby, so it was, it was nothing, kind of a bit of a waste of time really, so, but it was good, it's an experience. Could have turned into something else, but it didn't, and it's kind of set me up for, I suppose, confidence really, of being able to go into a place and not knowing anybody, to, being able to just sort of be comfortable talking to anyone. So.
Yeah.